Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Everyone, to an episode of Outside the Panels. As everyone knows, I love a good Kickstarter. Now, how good is it that a Kickstarter project gets fully funded in one day? Must be a really kick-ass project. Here to talk about his project and, amongst other things, all sorts of creative endeavors. It is a fantastic Mr. Steve Ellis. Steve, how's it going?
Hi, Johnny. How you doing?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you for spending the time with us here on Outside the Panels.
My pleasure. This sounds great.
Yeah, excellent. So you've got a Kickstarter going. I feel kind of bad talking about it because normally people come on the show.
Wait,
I feel kind of bad talking about it because people come on the show normally to promote the Kickstarter. You're like a gazillion percent funded. You don't need
That's
my
true.
help, man.
Yeah.
You're done. Yeah. You stick a fork in you. You are done.
Well, it's funny because we doing the Kickstarter doing the interviews this late in the process because we would have done it earlier on. Was just more along the lines of getting the message out because we love this project and it's less about sometimes it's less about the money as it is getting as many people to know about it and to see it as possible because you get it funded but only a couple hundred people see it. It'd be great if a lot of people could read your book, which is one of the reasons why we kind of kept the costs kind of low when we did it. So get as more people to see it as we get as many people to see it as we could.
Excellent. Talking about seeing, they say seeing is believing. Let's watch the video from said Kickstarter. We'll get this queued up for you. The Kickstarter is called Moonshine Bigfoot. Right? You have Moonshine, Muscle Cars, and Mayhem. It sounds like the Dukes of Hazzard on acid, to be honest. But
that actually is not a far off idea.
I saw some Daisy Dukes in here, so right, okay, here we go. Here's the video. Check it out.
I bet you've heard a lot of tales about Bigfoot. Well, now it's time to set the record straight. Because we do things a little different here in Buzzard County. Because in this here story, the heroes are outlaws with hearts of gold and tanks of gas. These fellas might seem reputable, but they're bona fide retrobates. Sheriff's crooked as a dog's leg. Walter ain't bad. And the rest of these folks, well, hell, they're as weird as they come. Moonshine Bigfoot, the greatest cryptozoological action-adventure comedy of all time.
Have to say that is a really impressive video. Who did the voiceover?
That was Kevin, the guy who put together who helped us put together the Kickstarter from Ink Studios. Yeah. We were looking around like for someone with a good like kind of what would you call it? Like a southern accent. Yeah, exactly. And he was like, I could try it, and we heard it and we're like, holy cow, it's perfect. So he got really into the project, so it's really fun.
Just wait till you see the advert that I'm going to play for you later then. All right, okay. so the idea here is that Bigfoot and his gang are just bad guys doing nice things. Is that right? A heart of gold. They're just trying to get
kind of yeah.
And then some unreputable types, police types and goons keep getting in their grill. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, yeah. The basically the deal is that So Bigfoot is, was like his parents had to give him up because their forest was on fire. So as a baby, he was put on the back of a truck, and then he fell off the back of the truck in Georgia, where he was found by a couple of moonshiners, and they brought him up, and he started growing moonshine, and making moonshine, and then driving his car and delivering the moonshine to a local guy named Uncle Pineapple, who's a former children's TV show host turned alcohol dealer, and
it's worse than to turn in as being the next children's host, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ex-children. So that, and then basically what they find out is that the moonshine Bigfoot makes, because of something that's going in the moonshine, allows people to see through the veil of the giant conspiracy that controls the world. And
my God, I didn't see that coming. What? What?
Yeah. So
moonshine gives you the higher purpose.
So sorry, I lost you there for a sec.
Moonshine gives you the higher purpose. It gives you the higher.
Exactly. So the bad guys don't want anyone to know. So so the bad guys don't want anyone to know, so they have to stop Bigfoot. And I think my favorite thing is that, or one of my favorite things is that the bad guy. So Bigfoot just wants to like make his moonshine and be left alone, right?
Yeah.
But then this bad guy, there's this group called Big Level, which is kind of our version of the Illuminati, and they run the world. And the most recent kind of leader of it is the son of the former leader, and the former leader was this hard as nails, tough guy, and he passed away, and now his son has to take over, but his son is trying to prove that he's any good at the job, and he's kind of not. So the problem is he's trying to prove to everyone that he's as good and as tough and as hard as his dad, and so this Bigfoot comes around and starts exposing their conspiracy, and so he has to crack down on Bigfoot. The only problem is that Bigfoot's Bigfoot, and he keeps getting the better on him.
So there's lots of. It seems like lots of crazy stuff going on there. I said it was like the Dukes of Hazzard on acid. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. You've got a little bit of Superman in there,
a little bit of that.
Yeah, a little bit of Sons of Anarchy kicking in there. The guy trying to be as bad as his dad. There's lots of different influences. How is it woven together? Who came up with the premise? Is it because you're artist co-creator, right?
Right. So what originally happened was I wasn't there the day that the original concept came up. Okay. But Zach Howard and his friend Mike Marlowe, the writer, and Clara Meath were on a road trip, and they were just goofing around, and they came up with that idea.
That's what they were doing.
Probably. Yeah. They were driving moonshine. And then, so they came up with like the basic premise. And then Zach called me up after we had met in, believe it or not, even though he's in Colorado and I'm in New York, we met in Africa, South Africa. Yeah. We were both brought down for a convention in South Africa. And then after that, we'd become really good friends. And then he was like, Steve, how would you like to work on a book about moonshine and aliens and Bigfoot, and aliens and all this other stuff? And I was like, sold. So basically he brought me in, and then we basically started like really kind of kicking the tires on the story. And so the four of us really sat down and kind of, batted around the ideas, put together the structure of the story, and started really working out like who all the bad guys were, and what all the different plots were going to be, and how we were going to handle all the different, how you're going to weave it all together into a cohesive story,
Yeah, because you've got the action pieces, you've got the set pieces you want to get in there.
Yeah,
it's how you get from A to B without forgetting about C. And D's coming around the corner. So
that's part of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm really big in character story arcs. Okay. So I'm really, and what's interesting is that normally the characters, I mean, Bigfoot's going to have an arc, right? But what's interesting about this book, which is different, I think, is that the other characters may have more expanding arcs than Bigfoot, just because he's kind of the thing that he's the glue that holds everybody together.
Okay.
And so even the bad guys are gonna like probably change a lot more as the story goes on. So I really get into like the character, like that was really like the thing for me is like, how do the characters grow and change? And then how do the set pieces, you know, the action pieces fit into that, you know?
So it's kind of like Bigfoot's a constant. He's like, because at this point in the story, he's fully formed. He knows who he is. He knows what he wants to do. It's how everybody interacts around him and how that drives people towards him or against him or whatever.
In a way, it's kind of like, you know, I imagine a really good Superman story isn't necessarily Superman going through a change in his personal self. It's how Superman affects the world around him. Yeah, it's how everybody else goes, you know, wow, how is this going to change reality? And Bigfoot's like, you know, the whole thing about Bigfoot that's really fun is like he's you know, he's just a kid from who's a kid. He's not a kid anymore, but you know, he's just a guy drives his car, likes to hang out, and doesn't believe in any of this other stuff. Even though he's a Bigfoot, he doesn't believe in all this stuff. So the fact that everyone's coming after him is kind of like he doesn't even get it. He's like, why is this happening? So he's just trying to make sense of the rest of the world being insane.
Cool. Fair enough. You were kind enough to send some art along, so let's have a look. We've got Bigfoot as our background. We'll big that up and let's have a look at the real I Am. There we go. Now, it looks cool. It's kind of like the Beast, isn't he, from X-Men?
Oh yeah, sure.
But I suppose that's to be expected. You know, a hairy guy. You know what he's going to look like, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at my beard when you say that. Thanks. Cheers.
Or mine. Well, you know, it's funny because like that was one of the things. Like I was when I originally did the design, I wanted him to be relatable, and when I was first doing the designs with a lot of hair on him, you suddenly realized, well, he kind of looks like Chewbacca, and I think there's a reason Chewbacca doesn't talk. You know, because he's not the most relatable character, and that's why we have everybody else translate for him. So in order to make Bigfoot a character that like a reader would be like, oh yeah, I can relate to that guy, you need to be able to see his face. And then we also wanted him to like, you know, be a dude, you know, he's like a guy that you know. So he hangs around in his beat up shorts, and he like, you know, he's got sunglasses on and likes to wear a baseball cap. So it just kind of became a fun character out of that.
Yeah, I mean, Chewie's one of my favorite Star Wars characters by far.
Yeah.
But in a comic book, it gets tedious having Han Solo every other panel go, yes, Chewie, that's right. We should go to Tatooine now. You know, oh man, come on, make it work. You know, so it's kind of that.
Or like Groot, right?
Yeah. I am Groot. Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah, you've said something. Whatever. For the first movie. By the 15th, I'm like, done now. Thanks, Chief. I don't get it. I mean, I get the first one. I like the first Guardians, but after that, my interest waned. So
I get that.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, it's their own. You know, there's a reason why Marvel do these plug and play movies, because you can just plug and play them. I tell you what, I'm kicking ass tonight. So how fun was it creating Bigfoot? Now, a little bit of history from my end, from my neck of the woods. Back in the 70s, we were big fans of the $6 Million Man. You know, Steve Austin. And every episode, he either used to go up against a great big tank or Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It seemed like
was an alien.
Yeah, they were the two episodes I always used to see.
Oh, I love those episodes. Yeah, I love the because Bigfoot was like, you remember he'd run down that tunnel and there was all the swirly stuff. And I think I haven't seen it since I was a little kid, but yeah, Bigfoot was either aliens or something, some crazy thing about Bigfoot, which was really fun.
Yeah, Bigfoot was my brother's favorite character. He watched the $6 Million Man, and he'd get upset when Bigfoot got beat.
I didn't realize that the Bigfoot was actually now I'm forgetting the name of the actor, the wrestler, Andre the Giant. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Just...
I was looking it up because we started working on a project about Bigfoot. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start looking at the things that I think about, and I found out it was Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, actually, so when I was a kid, that was a lot of it too. When I was a kid, that's why I jumped on this, because I loved watching those, like on Saturday afternoon, where I grew up. They used to have these they called them creature double features, and they would show two monster movies back to back. But then sometimes they would show these weird Bigfoot documentaries, and they would scare the crap out of me because like Godzilla, I knew it was a movie. The Bigfoot things were set up like, oh, wait a minute, they might be in your backyard, So I used to get terrified that these things existed, and then and it's funny because even then, when I was growing up, I had a friend who did who knew a guy who was a Bigfoot hunter.
All right.
So so he got me like this audio tape of this Bigfoot scream and all this other stuff. And so like as a teenager, that was really cool. Like, this guy's like, yeah, I met this dude, and he has this, so he had this audio tape that, we would play every once in a while. It sounded really freaky. So we were kind of into it, and then, then there's also, I grew up with, Smokey and the Bandit, BJ and the Bear, and the Dukes of Hazzard, right?
Yeah.
Which was all, people running away from the cops, driving their moonshine or illegal merchandise, and trying not to get caught, So this was kind of the perfect marriage,
Yeah, I used to love the Dukes of Hazzard. What a cool theme song.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
That it's up there, isn't it? With all the elves and so on. But
not Waylon Jennings. Was it Waylon Jennings?
It might be.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not.
Whilst you're there, let's check who sang the Good Old Boys, Dukes of Hazzard. Who sang the theme tune? It was Waylon Jennings. Well done.
All right, yeah. I think I had an unfair advantage because we had looked it up recently, specifically because we were actually thinking, can we get that for the Kickstarter video? And we weren't sure if that would. No. Yeah, it was going to be a lot.
a couple of years ago, in our local pub, we were in a beer garden, and there's my wife and myself, and we're just having a couple of beers on a Friday night. It's a beer garden, so sun's shining, it's lovely. There's just us, so I was flip on the old mobile, and like, oh, let's listen to some songs, and it comes up. We start listening to some Daft Things, and this older couple come out and go, hey, have you got any Waylon Jennings? I'm like, well, I've got everything. It's digital,
right?
Yeah, get with the times, Grandma. And so I type in Waylon Jennings as the name, and it comes up. The first thing I see is the Good Old Boys. I'm like, no, press that play that. Yeah, and there's four of us who just sat there listening to the Good Old Boys. Never meaning no harm, apparently. But never mind.
Right, which is kind of the exact the theme of this character, right? He doesn't mean to do any harm. He's just trying to do his thing, and it's the rest of the world that won't let him do that. That's kind of the fun of it. It's
been in trouble with the law since the day he was born.
Exactly.
We'll have a look at some of your art. Steve, you've been around the industry a while. Some people might think, who's this guy? But don't take this the wrong way. You've been around.
I have been around. Yeah. It's almost embarrassing. Yeah.
Go on then. So tell everyone who has no idea who you are what sort of books you've worked on in the past.
So I kind of started out many years ago working at Marvel. It was my first gig on Iron Man and then Spider Woman. This was in the early 90s.
Whoa, Spider Woman in the 90s.
It was my first job, believe it or not.
Spider Woman in the 90s. I love Spider Woman for the 70s.
Yeah, this was the black and white costume Spider Woman. Julia Carpenter.
Julia Carpenter.
Yeah.
I don't mind that one. I like her. She was cool.
Yeah. I mean, and I was working with Roy Thomas on it, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Kind of working with one of the grandmasters of the comics biz. It was my second gig, ever. And then I moved over a bunch of books over there, including Ninjak and Nightman, and I don't even know. Whole bunch of stuff. Then I did stuff at DC, and one of the highlights of mine was I got to do Green Lantern and Hawkman one of my highlights was working on Lobo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was like, so I worked on Lobo for a few issues.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely fantastic. It fit my, I don't know if you can get the sense, but it kind of fit my sensibility. If you look at this.
now you've said Lobo, my eyes have just done this like little double take. Like, I see it now.
It's in there. And you know, it's
as
funny.
As soon as you said it, I was like, I can see it. I never even thought about that.
Yeah, and then I did, and then basically in the late 90s, early 2000s, the comic book business kind of dropped out of its bottom. So I ended up doing some independent comics, and then I got into fantasy art, and I became one of the main artists for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, cool.
The role playing game, mostly in the 3.5 and 4.0 worlds.
Well, the thing is, you've said that like that means something. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I've never
Right
played
now they're
Dungeons
on
and
5.
Dragons. So Dungeons and Dragons to me is the cartoon show, right?
Right.
Hey, look, a Dungeons and Dragons ride.
Now this meant I got to paint and draw lots of crazy monsters, and you know, and it's interesting because I didn't realize this, but like guys like Simon Beasley and I can't think of a lot of the guys from like
2000 AD.
2000 AD, yeah, were a lot of them cross over with artists from that big RPG game tabletop with all Warhammer,
yeah.
And
So
even the style's kind of similar.
Like Lee Sharp, people like Lee Sharp.
Yeah, right. So even the style's kind of similar in there. So that was always kind of the thing that I really loved. So when I got into doing the D&D stuff, that was like, you know, it was kind of like, all right, I did comics, now I'm going to do D&D. Like I've hit both of the things that I loved as a kid, you know. And then I started making my own comics, and the first big one I had was I did a book called High Moon. And High Moon was a werewolf western that I created.
Title. What a great title.
Well, I can't take credit for the title. David Gallagher wrote it, and I co-created it with him. He came up with that name. And DC actually put it out as a web comic for about 3 years, and it had like something like 3 million readers at some point. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Close to 3 million. It was not quite 3 million, but it was close to 3 million readers. And then and so we did that for about 3 or 4 years. And then I ended up doing, and this is kind of why probably a lot of people in the mainstream industry don't know me, is I spent a lot of time doing a graphic novel series called The Only Living Boy, which was I don't have a copyright with me here because I didn't expect to talk about it. Oh, well, I have one over there. Anyway, it was kind of a young adult series about a kid who runs away and ends up in this kind of fantasy land with like monsters. A lot of people said it was like Commandi. That's the best.
All right.
They said it was like Commandi, except the difference is I didn't realize when we created it that Commandi was supposed to be a kid because he looks like this buff dude, right?
Yeah.
So in our version,
I blame Jack Kirby for that.
Right. In our version of it, our kid is a scrawny little 12-year-old who basically has no powers and has to survive a world that's just as scary. So we were kind of going off that idea of like trying to make an really epic Kirby-like comic with monsters and dragons and all this other stuff, demons and evil scientists and aliens and all that. But then the main character is just a kid. So he's like, he doesn't have weapons. He doesn't know how to use a weapon. He's just a 12-year-old. So, and it was kind of really fun because he's kind of, how do you deal with a character who has absolutely no skills whatsoever? Yeah. And so we did that. I did that about 480 pages of that. So, or more than that. Gosh, close to 600 pages now that I think about it, because I forgot about the second series. So we did that, and then basically I went to Africa and I met Zach.
And we're back up to date.
Yeah,
excellent. Okay, before we get into the more of the book and look at the Kickstarter, time for one of our other adverts. Now, I don't normally show this advert that much, but your trailer for your book for Moonshine has absolutely inspired me to share this with you.
Okay.
Right? Enjoy. Everyone, it's your time as comic book show.
Do you want to find out what makes the professor do his happy dance? Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, only on the UCPN.
Oh
like
my
music.
god. Yeah. So the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. Check out the most recent episode where we talk to the oldest superhero in town. Yes, we talk about Superman's 85 years. Wow. He's looking well for it, I tell you that. I hope I look as good when I get to that princely age. Right. Let's get more about Moonshine Bigfoot. Let's have this on the screen. So I mentioned at the start that, you know, you've hit your goal. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You were asking for, let me change that to dollars for everybody. You were looking for $5,000 and you actually to date have 13,995. That's right. 13,995. That pretty much says if you've pledged the Kickstarter, you're getting the book, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then some.
Right. Oh yeah, and then some. There's a whole bunch of other books that people are getting with it, believe it or not.
Cool.
We had a lot of we had like Ben Templesmith and Chris Ryall and a bunch of other artists contributed so that when our stretch goals, we ended up getting more books from other people. Cool. So you get the book and then you get a PDF of all these other comics. So I think it's like up to 12 or 13 different comics now.
Cool. So for your $7, you get a digital download. I say this to everybody. I like comic books. I like holding a comic book in my hand. Yeah. I like opening the pages. But for an international reader like myself, it's got to be digital, man, because I don't mind dropping the $7 on a comic book. I do mind paying $25 to get it shipped to me.
Yeah, I totally get that.
So it's I think it's a really wise thing to do to have digital downloads, definitely. So well done on that.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things, especially when I did a Kickstarter a few years ago, international rates were so much lower. Before it was like 2015, 2016, international rates just weren't that bad, and then they just seems to have gone crazy in the last couple of years.
Everything's gone crazy in the last couple of years. It's crazy. You get it all for 15. You get all 4 issues unsigned. Download the PDF. A link to behind the scenes. Oh, excellent. Cool. Ships anywhere in the world. $30 get the book signed. Wow, excellent. 30 get you the blank sketch cover. I don't understand why blank covers are so popular. I mean, I get you can take the cons, but over here in the UK, a blank cover with absolutely nothing on it other than the logo, it'll cost you £10.
Right. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. I mean, I like them because I draw on them. So and it's funny because like when they proposed that tier, I was like, I guess if people want the blank cover, cool. But I mean, I'd be happy to do a drawing on them. You know, like that's kind of my deal is like I'll do a drawing on it. You know. But,
does it not feel like a little bit of like I want your book so much, but I don't want your cover on it?
Yeah. I don't want to look at your artwork.
Yeah. You know, it's like a backhanded compliment. Right, I'll pay you not to draw on the book.
I wonder if people, I mean, maybe it's because people see them as collectibles, or maybe people want to, I mean, I'm wondering if maybe people want to bring them to us at a convention and then have us do it for them specific, you know. And I get that too, because, you know, there's certain, I mean, that's actually one of the most fun things to do is to kind of do to make it look like it's a real cover, even if it's not.
Excellent. So here's some of the artwork we can expect to see in the book. There's old Bigfoot himself. I wonder, it's more big everything rather than Bigfoot, to be honest. But, you know.
Well, his feet are huge, though. So.
Yeah. His hands aren't too shabby, but you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what they say about guys with big hands?
Yep. And
need big gloves. Right?
Yeah. They need big gloves, big shoes too.
Yeah. So there you go. There's some Daisy Dukes. Check it out.
Yeah. So that's Amethyst, Bigfoot's girlfriend, and I forgot to put Chupa in there. Oh well.
I further down, I think somewhere.
Yeah, I think he's in the next one, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
No.
How did I forget? Oh well. I'm glad I'm doing that new Chupacabra art.
Cool. Did you take a lot of references to draw the cars?
The cars are hard, but they're really fun.
Yeah.
It is. It is hard. Like I'm sitting there with every piece of reference in the world and doing my best to make them look. And then we had to not just, we couldn't just use real cars. We had to like soup them up. So like it's got like a crazy muffler and it's got like, all this other stuff on it that we decided, we have to do that. So now we made the work hard on it. And those guys are Abfatch. They're the American Bigfoot aliens and cryptid hunters.
They look like some sort of poor man's Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like I don't know. There's an organization over here called MUFON. It's the Mutual UFO Network, which is the most terrible name in the world. But that's their name, right? And I just thought it would be funny to have another one like our own group that like it's just a terrible acronym because like usually acronyms are supposed to sound like something good, but MUFON doesn't sound like anything. So we came up with Abfatch because it doesn't sound like anything good. It just sounds, it's like, so they're kind of a loser group of Bigfoot hunters who they know he's out there and they're trying to catch him, anything they can do.
And a bit of a slice of real life nonsense. Here we go. Years ago, back in the 80s in the UK, there was a teachers, like educators, they had a union and they were called the National Union of Teachers. And we put it together, they call them nuts.
Nut.
I'm
That's
like,
great.
who thought of that?
Yeah, that's not a good way to get what you want, right?
It's like, never mind. There's the souped up Charger.
Yep.
Yeah. There's nowhere that dude is fitting in that car.
Well, what we did was that's actually a really early version of it, and we realized that pretty quick. So what we did is if you look inside the book, Zach is really a perfectionist about this stuff. So if you look inside the book, he actually made the artwork because I hadn't thought about it. He made the artwork so that Bigfoot's seat is way back. So he's basically sitting in what would be a back seat of the car and driving from the front. So yeah, I'm sure it's not easy for him to get in and out, but luckily we won't be drawing him sliding over the hood and hopping in.
We've all seen the Dukes of Hazzard. We all know how that works.
We won't have to animate that in the comics, so luckily he'll just squish in. But we adjusted it a little bit to make it look a little bit more reasonable that he would fit in it.
But comics just aren't your only gig, right? You've got a YouTube show to help aspiring artists, is that right?
Yep. Yeah, I did. Well, I haven't done a lot lately, but I was doing it. It started in during COVID, doing a thing called. There's like 100 and something episodes that I did over the course of like 3 or 4 months, because every day I did a new monster, and we'd basically draw it with whoever came on, and it was great. I had kids, I had grown-ups, I had all kinds of people, drawing along with me, and it was really fun. I'm trying to start it up now using TikTok to get people to do it. That might be a little fast.
Get with the kids. TikTok.
Yeah, well, I teach at Syracuse University. I teach illustration, and it's one of the things that I like. One day a week I go and I spend a whole day teaching people art, and it's like it's one of my favorite things to do. And it gets me out of the studio.
Right then. So everyone who knows me has been on, has seen my shows before. They know that I like to doodle. So here we go.
Okay.
Don't laugh too much.
Okay.
There we go.
Why would I laugh? That's really good.
She suffers from the bike's too small for her.
Right. Well, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's actually really hard to make sure that just like you said about the Bigfoot in the car, that's hard to make sure they match up.
I'm trying to find stuff that I really can show you. All right, so are you ready?
Yeah.
There you go.
There he is.
Bit of Wolverine going on.
Yeah, with the button chops and everything. That's my favorite Wolverine. Nice.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, fine. Supposed to be McFarlane-esque Spider-Man, but it doesn't quite
You got the legs up in the right position. Yeah. I think that foot for McFarlane, the foot needs to be way 50 feet in front of him. Superman. All right.
Perspective Superman.
Perspective is hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's cutting off on the side. Yeah, it's oh yeah, there he's Batman.
Batman.
Nice.
I'm just right. So this is, I don't do this very often, but this is a copy. I don't normally copy stuff. I like to draw my own stuff, but I couldn't resist. There you go. Bleeze from the Green Lanterns.
Nice pose too. Yeah.
And then when I got comfortable, there we go. There's Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. All right.
Yeah. It's all right. That one not so bad. I have a tendency to over ink stuff.
Over what?
To over ink things.
I
can't get the inking down.
You know how I learned?
I can't draw faces.
You know how I learned that a good trick with inking
Was
actually, Paul Smith of X-Men fame.
Yeah.
I was doing my own inks, and he was like, "Your inks are all over the place and they're really messy." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Here, this is the trick." What he said was, get a that has a small, like, one weight line, so not like a nib pen or not like a rollerball pen, right?
Yeah.
And just outline everything with that.
Yeah.
Right, and then when you look at it, erase the pencil, and then you thicken up the lines afterwards.
All right, I'll try that.
So you get nice. That way you have more control over where the lines are, and then as you get better, you just start to see it, and then it makes sense. But that saved my butt for a few years there. I was like, this is how I'm going to learn to ink. There you go, Spider-Woman. Right.
Well, yeah. So the fact that you're recognizing these people is a good sign. And I'm taking
that's a very good sign. Yeah.
There you go. See, I have a good game. Watch out, your comic book coming to you soon.
There you go. Yeah. You too can be the what do you call it?
The gateway to knowledge.
Yeah. Or as I say, you too can have the world-spanning career of a comic artist.
Excellent. All right. So your Kickstarter's still live.
Yep.
You can still get involved. If you want to check it out, there's the link. Don't pause the show. Just wait. All you got to do really is go to Kickstarter and type in Moonshine Bigfoot.
That's right.
And it'll come straight up. You know how a search engine works. Come on. Just have this show.
In fact, if you type in Moonshine, there is one other Kickstarter that has Moonshine in it, but it's already old, and I think they were making some sort of food thing.
Yeah, don't get that because you'll get a bottle of juice that your parents won't like.
Right, yeah.
Steve is on several social media platforms at Steve Ellis Art. Type that in and you will find yourself on Facebook, Twitter, the Gram, and you mentioned TikTok as well.
That's right. I always forget about TikTok because it's new. But yeah, I've been doing videos up there. Cool. So, and I've got some teaching videos I'm going to be doing more of in the next couple of days. So I think there might be a how to draw Bigfoot coming up.
How to ink. That's one.
How to ink? Okay.
All right. Subscribe. Check a little bell button, bing, on YouTube for Monster Art School. Check it out. It's all there. Excellent. Steve, it's been an absolute blast.
It's been great talking to you, Johnny.
It's been this 40 minutes has just flown by.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize it was already over.
I was like, what?
We started doing the exit part, and I'm like, wait a minute, we haven't barely been on.
Well, I tell you what. How about this? You can come back on again. Be part of the old timers.
Okay.
Come on. Talk about old comic books. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I don't know if I'm good at that, but I could try.
Yeah, you'll be fine. It'll be cool. You are more than welcome on any time whatsoever.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, I'd love that.
Right.
Let's set that up some point. I'd love to try the Old Timers Club. That'd be great.
Excellent. All right, Steve, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. The book, I'm going to say the book looks gorgeous.
Thank you. Appreciate
There's a sense of fun to it. There's a sense of energy. And, I'd really like to see this book. This book sounds absolutely great. And then to take a right curve into alternative kind of conspiracy theories, and I'm like, I'm sold.
Yeah,
I love a good conspiracy. I love the Paul McCartney one's my favorite one.
Oh, the one I Buried Paul.
No, not Paul McCartney. He died on Abbey
Well,
Road.
because wasn't I Buried Paul the quote from the Strawberry Fields, right? And then there's also the in what was it? In Sgt. Pepper's the album cover. There's a car going off a cliff, but it's actually just some flowers.
All these Paul McCartney things.
Oh, are there more? Is there more?
Well, the idea is, he died, and the cover of Abbey Road, when they're walking across the zebra crossing, he's the only one who's not wearing shoes.
Right,
and at the
right.
time,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
The guys are into Hinduism, I think it was, and that's a sign of passed on to another life.
Oh, that one I didn't know about.
And if you want to check out a Batman comic that also alludes to the whole idea that one of the big band's members has died, I think it's Batman 232, just off the top of my head. I'd have to double check that. What can I say? I'm an old timer. All right. Don't forget to check out the new CPM for all your favorite shows, including, we've talked about already, the Old Timers Comic Book Show. And if you like your Marvel, check out the No Prize Podcast. And if you like your DC, go and check out the Definitive Crusade. There we go. Simple as. Right. Steve, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you so much. That's been great,
Johnny. Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You are more than welcome, sir. More than welcome. And as for me, as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.